Good morning. Welcome to our November regular meeting of Chesterfield County Council. It's 9 o'clock, so I will call this meeting to order. At this time, I'm going to open the meeting with prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. But before I do, I'd like for everybody to keep Miss Susie Boswell, our clerk to council, and her family in prayers as her mother passed away yesterday afternoon. And also keep Mr. Eddie Rivers, our Councilman Rivers, in your prayers. Eddie had a very bad fall. He's broken some bones, and he's on the mend. I talked to him yesterday, but he's kind of hurting right now. But if y'all would keep him in your prayers, we'd appreciate it. Bless us, dear Lord, as we begin to gather here today to go about the business before us. As the seasons change, we pray for a change in the hearts and minds of people around the world and also here in our own country. I pray that you will send us the direction in which we need to go and that we will follow that path to peace and understanding. We offer special prayer for Ms. Boswell in these difficult days, and Mr. Rivers, we pray for healing after his fall. Lord, pray that all we do and say today will be accepted in your sight. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we adopt the agenda, I'm going to call on Mr. Ruffner.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would suggest that agenda items 9D, E, and F be moved to after executive session. That project, Apollo Economic Development Project, will be discussed in executive session, and that way council will have been briefed on that project prior to voting on those items. So, and that type of amendment does not require any finding of exigency or the like.
Thank you, Mr. Ruffner. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda? Mr. Ford, Mr. Conklin, is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. We move down to item 4, approval of our October minutes. If there are no corrections or deletions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the October meeting.
So moved.
Have a motion by Ms. Burns, a second by Mr. Conklin. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. I think the bonds are being passed for signing. We'll move down to appointments. Today, we're pleased to have the Honorable Penry Gustafson, our state senator, with us today. Senator Gustafson, welcome to our county council meeting. Come on up.
Good morning, everybody. It is great to be here. I've missed you. Let me get this straight. All right, I do have just a couple things to say about appointments, and then I would love to do a brief update for the county council regarding legislation that is moving forward this year, if that's okay with the county council. Because the main information I was going to share with you today isn't quite complete. So I might need to hold off on the complete remarks for a little bit later on in the year. As you may or may not be aware, we are looking for a magistrate. We are in desperate need of another full-time magistrate for Chesterfield County. I wanted to let you know that the delegation and I are on top of that. It's been a while. I don't know if you're aware of the governor's recent directive regarding magistrates, and we're in the middle of reviewing magistrate qualifications. And so I'm trying to look ahead a little bit for these important qualifications and just make sure they're all covered. And it's a very important I know you understand that. So it's taken a little bit longer in that regard, but we're working on that. There's also a couple of different boards that we are looking to fill, including the Voter Registration Elections Board. I just want to let you know that we're aware of this, we're on top of it, and encourage y'all to make sure that all of the county board seats that y'all appoint are filled too. I mean, it's amazing to me, there are probably over 1,000 open seats across the state on boards and commissions, and we need people to fill those, and we need, like, the public to fill those for your input. So I know through the county, citizens can apply to be on certain boards, commissions, and then other things y'all appoint independently. So that's just a few words about appointments. We've had a really active year this year with legislation. I mean, it's been a big year. I just want to go over some of the top things that we did in the State House this year. You probably heard about a lot of these in the newspapers or what have you, but I'll highlight them for you. We passed legislation to split DHEC into 2 different agencies. So we will have a healthcare and environmental. So our health and that order of things in DHEC is going to be separated from environmental, and that's been needed for quite some time. So we're working on reorganization of DHEC. That has been passed into law, so that's going to happen. We are also, I'm personally on a subcommittee that's working on the restructuring of DDSN, which is Department of Disabilities and Special Needs. Department of Mental Health is in dire need of restructuring too, but I'm specifically working on that. We have ongoing meetings with the people who are doing those investigations and giving their instructions on how they can be better structured. Excuse me. I guess I haven't had enough coffee this morning. But I ain't talking fast, right? I guess I'm just excited. I have a lot to say. So we also passed a couple of school choice bills. We also passed paid maternity leave for teachers, which has been a long time coming. House and Senate just very, very happy we could do that for our teachers. In addition to that, teachers got a pay raise. We're trying to get that raise up. We're trying to get that money up. In addition to that, all state employees received a $2,500 pay raise this year. So teachers got their pay raise plus the $25. I've talked to a few teachers face-to-face about this. They're happy about it, and we're working on additional ways to make their jobs just happy and easy to stay there forever, okay? Because we want our teachers to stay. We want to retain our best teachers, and we can't do that if we aren't offering them what our neighboring states are offering. So we're catching up in South Carolina. I'm proud to say that. Also, this year, we repealed the Certificate of Need requirement. Before I got into politics, I never heard of this, did not even know it was, even though my husband was a professional medical person, CRNA. The Certificate of Need was basically a requirement if a hospital or a facility wanted to expand their services or buy certain equipment, and we're talking about 27 different services and equipment, they had to get permission first and go through this arduous process to get that permission. And a result of this has been very, very hard on rural areas like Chesterfield County. It has prevented hospitals from being built. It has prevented other things from being built. And this has been an ongoing effort in the State House, from what I understand, about 20 years. Federal government instituted this thing. They realized real quick like it wasn't working. They repealed it, but then the states didn't all repeal it. South Carolina didn't repeal it. So what this will do as a result, and just to pinpoint it, it should provide greater access to health care. It should bring down costs as well. So, and it also should increase quality of health care. Very, very attuned to a lot of our needs here in Chesterfield County, especially concerning healthcare, access to it. So it's a wonderful thing. I mean, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. We had a huge hoo-ha with the governor about this, and it was bipartisan all the way. It was fantastic to finally get that thing repealed this year. Also, as far as budget items is concerned, I'll just highlight one item that is a big deal for Chesterfield County, which is the monies that were allocated to Northeastern Technical College, by way of me, I guess I would say. What we've got money for is finally to do some maintenance and some upgrades to expand to McBee, a new campus. It is amazing to me that we have 16 technical colleges in South Carolina, and NETC was like the third least funded. So I've been fighting on this for about 3 years, trying to just get them caught up. I mean, just for basics, like, you know, not a leaky roof, that kind of thing. So it was a huge push. And in the end, I sat down with the head of finance for the Senate, and that would be Senator Harvey Peeler. And I sat down with him, and in my last push, I had a lot of information moving forward to get this thing through, planning, all sorts of technical information and money information. But I just kind of looked at him, and in my last ask, I said, if this state has enough money to spend over $2 billion, right, a $2 billion check to Scouts Motors, I think we can find $10 million in our state to support the technical college and the technical colleges that are providing the jobs for such an adventure, an endeavor. Indeed, we do need more technical students. We have a lot of jobs to fill, and a lot of those are technical in nature. So this is a time to bolster up our technical colleges. Also in District 27, CCTC, they're doing fairly well for budgeting and for support by the state. But finally, I feel like NETC has been brought up to some level playing field with the rest of our technical colleges. So really, really happy about that. I'm a legislator, so let me tell you a little bit about legislation. I'm in the midst of a lot of it. I try to write down the top 10, but I end up with over 30. So I'm not gonna, y'all have time for me to go through 30 bills? No, I won't do that to you. Some of us have lives outside of the council. But I will tell you that another big thing we passed was the fentanyl trafficking bill. I was one of the lead sponsors on the Senate side. We had very similar legislation in the House and the Senate, and the House got their bill through first. We didn't really care, we just needed to do it this year. And that was H 3503, and it went into effect in June 15th. Because evidently we did not have the correct charges in place in our criminal offenses to charge people for trafficking. So if you had a pocket full of fentanyl or truckload, you're charged the same, if you can believe that. Well, we fixed it. Okay, it was a technical thing. Fentanyl has exploded in America. It's exploded in South Carolina, and this was really needed. I'm so glad that was made a priority this year for our General Assembly, and I'm right proud of it. I think anybody who is part of it is proud to get that through and to support our law enforcement because, you know, your hands are tied. If you don't have the legislation, if you don't have the laws in place to enforce, you can't help it if you can't keep someone or charge someone. So that's good. Other things I've been working on, to let you know the committees I serve on again. I serve on Family and Veteran Services. I serve on Corrections and Penology, and Agriculture and Natural Resources, and Judiciary. I'm actually very happy with Judiciary because that's where most of the important bills come from for changes in the code and for all of this stuff. Anything I'm discussing today, it comes out of Judiciary. This is really where my heart is. I think I'll probably be on Judiciary for a very long time rather than Finance. But as long as they listen to me with Finance, I'm happy with that. I'm okay with that. So various things. I have a hearing aid bill out there. I don't know if y'all know this, but I wear one. And I didn't get my first hearing aid till I was 37 years old because I couldn't afford one. I never could afford to buy one until I remarried. And then Todd bought me one for my wedding gift, believe it or not, because it was just what I wanted the most. So S119, I've been getting some calls about this again lately. I'm hoping to get a subcommittee on this one. So so hearing aids will be covered with medical insurance because they are not at all. So Senator Hembree and I are working on that and hoping to have a subcommittee set up in January for that. Also, other bills they're working on regarding children, safe harbor for exploited minors, has to do with sex trafficking. That one's gone over to the House, that's S142. Also, a bill to address confidentiality. So nonprofits who are helping those who are abused can keep their addresses private, so the abuser can't get to that person. Believe it or not, there has to be a law for that. Let's see what else. S163, all these bills are I'm sponsoring or I'm part of, prohibits the Department of Commerce from offering incentives to certain companies owned by China. The state, we can only do so much as far as like international world or national affairs, but we can, as much as we can, protect our state from outside adversarial land ownership and other things like that. We are looking at that. You know, for agriculture, we don't need our lands to be gobbled up by anyone who's not our friend and ally with the country, with our United States. So, been working on that. Public utilities, S176. This one requires. It actually, the rate base fees cannot include recovery of legal fees from customers of utilities where they've been found to be in violation of any law, and they have to have, they had to have representation. They cannot pass those fees, of those law fees, down to customers. So this is a consumer protection thing. I have so much here I could talk to you about. Contraband Cell Phone Act, a lot of things related to corrections and penology, because I'm on that committee, trying to establish a drug court program, separating these are separate things, but separation of juvenile from adult offenders for separate confinement. That's been an issue in South Carolina and various places. Let's see, what else? A lot of different things here. Just a moment. We've been working on a first responder workman's comp coverage for those who may have experienced medically diagnosed PTSD. Working on a state health care plan and PBA reform, where it just kind of changes the qualifications of the board. It requires at least 5 physicians to be on that board, which makes sense, and at least 5 women. And it can be 5 women physicians, but we gotta have at least 5 women on this board, and we have to have doctors on the board of directors for PBA. And when they suggest changes to the state health plan, they can't do that without consulting physicians. This sounds like common sense kind of stuff, it is, but it hasn't been done. So S312 would help that and account for that. Kinship guardianship, this was signed into law in May. It defines legal guardians. It helps families of children. It helps the whole process of who can take care of a child in certain situations, and allows a grandmother or someone close to the child to be able to be their legal guardian. And it defines it, it gives additional definitions for that. I'm very concerned about ESG. I don't know if y'all know about ESGs, but we've got a couple of bills that would bring some attention to that as far as investments by South Carolina. There's a gender identification bill, S 627, which prevents the provision of gender transition. Hold on just a minute. Gender transition procedures under the age of 18. I'm a co-sponsor for that. I just don't think our minors should be subjected to life-altering operations before they know the full ramifications of that. So firefighter residency, S728. We got firefighters who work in our state, but they might live just across state lines. I know you know this for Chesterfield County. Pageland area up there, and we have some people who live just over the state line, but they work. They're our firefighters, and they work with us forever. But they cannot get benefits. There's a lot of things they can't get because they're a resident. So that helps that. I've been trying to help fund firefighting, all things fire since I've been in office. We've got some really imbalanced things in our state. And if we are growing, and this seems to be like the number one issue I hear, if we're going to grow, services have to grow too. The roads have to grow. Infrastructure has to grow. And Act 388, y'all may or may not know about that, but it really messed up our rural areas. So that burden, a lot of that burden goes on the businesses rather than the homeowner, the homeowners are great, but what happens is if you have an increase in population, but not an increase in businesses, that burden still falls on the businesses, even though there's this expansion and increase of population. I'm happy to talk to you about this individually. It's an ongoing thing. Many of us in the General Assembly are trying to find ways to break down Act 388, which was so detrimental to our rural communities. So I'm happy to talk to y'all more about that, working on it. This is not going to be a quick fix. I've only been there for a few years. I've been working on it since the day I walked through the door. It's going to take a multitude of us in the General Assembly to get this taken care of. Everyone I've talked to understands this is a horrible piece of legislation. Hugh Leatherman, before he died, he was the head of finance. Most people know Senator Leatherman's name. He said on the floor multiple times it was the single worst vote he ever made in his entire time in the legislature was for Act 388. It's just awful. So as you can see, I'm busy with a lot of different legislative items covering many topics. Those are just a few. If you're interested in hearing more what's going on for Chesterfield County as far as legislation is concerned, you can bring up my name or any other delegation member's name to see, what we're sponsoring, what we're working on. It's very easy to do online, and you can actually pop up our name and pop up legislation, sponsored by, whether it's primary or not. And every person, you can do that for everybody on the delegation. So, and we're working on different things. But I really do appreciate your time, and I hope I didn't ramble too much, but I appreciate your time, and I'm here for you guys. I love my job. I thank you for your job and what you do on Chesterfield County Council. If I can be of service to you, please reach out to me, and I'm going to be here after the meeting as long as y'all want to. If anybody would like to speak with me, I will remain here as long as needed. I don't have anything else till 5 o'clock today. So thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Speed trap. I haven't gotten a ticket in a long time. I hear you. I hear you. Okay. I hear you. Sir, I didn't know that. I'm sorry you did. Jail ain't fun for anybody, for any reason.
Senator?
Me too, but that sounds, those traffic tickets, that kind of thing, that is very local. And I don't have a lot to do with, like, yes, sir. Thank you for that.
Okay, let's, if you would like to discuss this.
I'm happy to
we
stay,
Discuss this
talk
after
with
the
you.
meeting. Senator, we thank you for coming today, and we thank you for what you try to do for our county. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll move down to item 7, public comments. Before we ask for public comments, while we welcome all comments, the comment should be limited to 4 minutes per speaker or 20 minutes per subject. Is anyone wish to address council? Yes, sir. Sure, please. Thank you.
Mr. Butler, council members, I appreciate the few minutes to be able to speak. In light of recent events, I just want to inform you that the sheriff's office and the coroner's office are dealing with the tsunami of fentanyl in this county. At some point, I would like to, if possible, to speak with either a committee or this council completely, not to take up council time here, but about getting words of wisdom as we move forward battling this epidemic.
Thank you, sir.
And just bringing that as information.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wish to address council? Okay, if not, we'll move down to item 8, public hearing. This is an ordinance granting temporary easement to the town of Payson to construct a temporary water line to the Lynch's River Industrial Park. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Miller and Mr. Curtis, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. The public hearing is now open. Does anyone wish to address council on this ordinance? If not, I assume that the same two that made the motion, the second will close the public hearing. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, the public hearing is now closed. We'll move down to item 9A, ordinance granting the temporary easement to the town of Payson for this water line. This is third reading. Is there a motion to approve this reading?
So move.
Okay, we have Mr. Miller and Mr. Ford. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. We will move down to 9B, the reassessment postponement ordinance. This is second reading. Is there a motion to approve the second reading? Mr. Conklin?
Second.
Ms. Anderson, is there any discussion?
Is there a brief understanding of what this one is, please?
Would you let,
Either one. Okay. Every 5 years, every county in the state is required to reassess all property in the county. Our county, for various reasons, and the assessor had provided these to me at the last meeting, is not in a position to have that completed within that 5 years. The other thing is it was postponed last time, so we would really be doing it in 4 years if we did it. And DOR is really particular about that, and obviously it makes a huge difference because that's what our taxes are going to be based on. So we want to make sure that that reassessment is done correctly and fairly and equitably throughout the county. So this is something that's been done, I think, every reassessment period for maybe the last 4 or 5 times. So
it's one of those things, I think you did it the first time, you pretty much forced.
right.
it out.
It's kind of a domino effect.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. We'll move down to 9C, project furnace fee in lieu of ordinance. This is a second reading. Is there a motion to approve this ordinance?
So moved.
Ms. Burns? Ms. Anderson, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, the motion carries. Okay, so we're gonna move D, E, and F, so we'll go down to, 9G, standing rule ordinance, first reading by title only. Mr. Ruffner, would you care to explain a little bit about that?
Yes, sir. A number of years ago, we had some discussions about revising our standing rules, which were originally adopted in 1985. They've been added to, amended, adjusted a number of times such that they're a little unorganized. What we are proposing is to look at adopting the model rules that the South Carolina Association of Counties came up with several years ago. And probably the best way to do that would be to go ahead and have this first reading, then assign that to the Rules Committee, have them go through that. There are a number of items that you have to make decisions on, options, and tweak those as needed, and then bring that back to council for a recommendation. But I think this would be a good first step toward remedying that issue that we have with our current standing rules.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion to pass this first reading?
So moved.
Ms. Burns? Ms. Anderson? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, the motion carries. I'd like to refer this to Ms. Burns. She's chair of the Rules and Personnel Committee. If you would be willing to take on that and study that further and bring back recommendations. Okay, and then we'll move down to 9H, Family Court Awareness Month, a proclamation. I think all of you received a copy. Mr. Ruffner, would you read that proclamation?
Sure, I'll be glad to. Proclamation, Family Court Awareness Month. Whereas the mission of the Family Court Awareness Month Committee, FCAMC, is to increase awareness on the importance of a family court system that prioritizes child safety and acts in the best interest of children. And whereas the mission at the FCAMC is fueled by the desire to create awareness and change in the family court system for the conservatively estimated 58,000 children a year ordered into unsupervised contact with abusive parents, while honoring the hundreds of children who have been reported as murdered during visitation with a dangerous parent. And whereas the mission of the FCAMC is to increase awareness of the importance of empirically based education and training on domestic violence and abuse, including emotional, psychological, physical, and sexual abuse, as well as childhood trauma, coercive control, and post-separation abuse for judges and all professionals working on cases within the family court system. And whereas the mission of the FCAMC is to increase awareness on the importance of using scientifically valid, evidence-based treatment programs and services that are proven in terms of safety, effectiveness, and therapeutic value. And whereas the mission at the FCAMC is to educate judges and other family court professionals on evidence-based peer-review research. Such research is a critical component to making decisions that are truly in the best interest of the children. This research includes the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study, Child Custody Evaluators' beliefs about domestic abuse allegations, and child custody outcomes in cases involving parental alienation and abuse allegations. And now, therefore, I, William Rhett Butler, Chairman, Chesterfield County Council, on behalf of Chesterfield County, do hereby proclaim the month of November to be Family Court Awareness Month, dated this first day of November 2023.
It's requested that council approve this proclamation this time. Mr. Conklin? Mr. Smallwood? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Okay, we'll move down to item 10, the standing committee reports. There are none. We'll move down to item 11, subdivision mobile home park. Mr. Ford, I'll turn that over to you.
Thank you. So, it's just something I wanted to bring to the attention of council. I know before, during few of the meetings we had in the past and currently right now, when a subdivision goes in, or anytime a county road would go from dirt to pavement through the CTC or whatever it may be, that once it's done to a certain standard, then the county takes ownership of the road and perpetual care of the road, I guess you would say. And when sitting back and looking at the costs associated with that, there's no way we can ever come out ahead by having to maintain more roads. It's not gonna increase our tax base or anything else. And in a lot of other counties, it's a situation where, you know, you allow people to put roads in, but they have to put organizations in place that maintain those roads and not leave the burden on the taxpayer. So I think with right now, with what's going on in the Pageland area of the county is a lot different than some of the other areas right now. There is a there has been a very, very quick burst of homes going up. A lot of the road frontage land is gone. And so now it's going more to putting roads in, cul-de-sacs, and putting homes on developing parcels of land. And I'm very concerned that if we don't try to get ahead of this and do something, then we're going to end up with a lot of long-term expenses that we just absolutely will not be able to afford. And so during that conversation, it kind of brought up the mobile home park situation. And so that's where they kind of commingle, is I got to looking at our mobile home park ordinances. And so if you take a piece of property currently, if you take a piece of property in Chesterfield County and you want to put a road in, you have to put it up to a certain standard to meet DHEC specifications according to the county, and then the county would take it over if you were going to build homes there. But as of right now, if you want to put a mobile home park in, as long as you could take a bulldozer and push a road through the middle of a piece of property and put gravel on it, and then as long as you put no more than 4 mobile homes per acre, and the property has to be more than 4 acres, you could put 100 mobile homes in there with no restrictions. So I think that both of those together is something that's very important to me. I'm all for if there's a lot of mobile home parks in other areas that look nice, they have permanent underpinning, masonry, things like that. It's a very affordable type of housing. But I think if there's not a lot more thought put into it, with the current housing market going down, the rentals are where a lot of the investors are looking at going. And I think that it's very important that we take a step back and look at our rules and give some more thought to it, because it's a different time now than it has been before.
Are you proposing an emergency ordinance for a moratorium on these?
I propose that we need to do a temporary moratorium for a period of time, whatever we can, to get the things in motion, to bring it before
60
committees.
days and then
So I propose that we do a temporary emergency moratorium on mobile home parks and us taking
subdivision.
the subdivision roads under our umbrella until we can move further with committees.
Okay, we've heard Mr. Ford's motion. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Conklin. Is there any discussion?
This is similar to what we did with the tiny houses, right?
Yeah.
That came up, yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. And I would like to refer this or assign this to the Planning and Zoning Committee. If Ms. Anderson, that's your committee, would you accept that?
Sure, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move down to item 12, Convenience Center closing Christmas holidays. Mr. Eubanks?
Okay. Mr. Tucker, who is over our convenience centers, came to me a few weeks ago and said some of the operators was asking, would it be possible for them to have a day off at Christmas? Christmas this year is falling on a Monday, so they're asking for either Saturday before Christmas or the Tuesday after Christmas. Just to give you some background on anything in years past Christmas at the convenience centers is pretty crazy. I mean, it gets pretty hectic because of all the Christmas debris and all. So, and if y'all would consider that, it'd be my recommendation to do the Saturday before. And the reason I'm bringing it so early is to give plenty notice if y'all would consider giving them the Saturday before Christmas off. That way we can post it and give the public plenty notice that they'll be closed the Saturday before Christmas.
Okay. Y'all heard this recommendation from staff. Is there a motion to accept this recommendation? Mr. Smallwood,
I second.
second by Ms. Burns. Any discussion?
How much happens before Christmas? I mean, is
That was the only
That's a-
thing I told Mr. Tucker. I said, you know, Saturdays, even though through the year is our busiest day also. But I can promise you the Tuesday after Christmas, it will be
oh, yeah,
jam-packed.
absolutely. I'm just concerned about
Right.
closing it.
And that's the only reason I'm bringing it to you in November, because if y'all do this, I want to give plenty notice to the public that these things are gonna be closed, because y'all be the ones that hear it.
I'm a little bit on the fence myself with closing it. You know, I think that part of our duty is convenience center and making it convenient for the constituents. I think we're already closed several days every week, so this is more of a part-time position anyway, so it's kind of limited, you know, work hours. And although I would love to give everybody all the time off in the world for that holiday, I think that opens us up for more opportunity for people when that's the time of year that they have the largest amount of trash of any other time. And I'm not sure that it's beneficial to the constituents that we close it any other time than the normal time for this time of year. You know, I'm on the fence about this.
What would be the case if, say, Christmas was on a Tuesday?
The way we've always done it in years past was, you know, Thanksgiving, we're off Thanksgiving, and Christmas always was determined where it fell. If Christmas was on a day of work, we give them Tuesday, Thursday, or Saturday, we would give them that Christmas day off. But other than that, we've always, in years past, we've worked if it didn't fall on Christmas Day.
Y'all heard this in any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye or raise your hand so we'll be able to know. Okay, motion carries. All opposed, I assume. Motion carries. Okay. We'll move down to item B, surplus property, Sheriff's Department, Ms. Stanley.
Okay, thank you. The Sheriff's Department has requested that council declare the listed, its computer items as surplus and for them to be removed from inventory. But they've basically used them as much as they can. They're obsolete, and actually what they do, I don't think I've told you this before, they would take these computers and use all the parts necessary to rebuild and make, just like our IT guy, they rebuild and they make, other computers, they use it as much as they can until they are completely obsolete.
Thank you. It's requested that we declare this property as surplus. Is there a motion to declare this opposite? This, excuse me, this property as surplus? Mr. Conklin and Mr. Curtis, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. We'll move down to item C, the 9/11 addressing. Mr. Eubanks, I'll turn that over to you.
Okay, this issue came up with a utility outfit calling me and question about our addressing, the way we're going about addressing. They were asking it because it did not work. What had happened, we started in putting letters, attaching letters onto our 911 addresses. So they're saying it's not working with their system. So I got Mr. Arant here today in case I say something that's not right, please correct me. And I was talking to Chad and Derek with codes, and they agreed, everybody agreed that there's no reason that we should be putting lettering on our 911 addressing, with the exception of apartments. Apartments, you know, it'll first have a number, and then the amount of apartments attached to it would then have letters. That would, Mr. Arant said that would be acceptable. So bottom line is, from this point on, I've instructed codes to, if anything comes in, Mr. Arant said you can extend the numbers to make this work. So the other night at the mayor's meeting, I was informing them, they had a few questions, and some of it was about the apartments and all that. He pointed out that one of the things was, you know, they mail out invoices and all that every week to people, and it was no problem with letters on it. But Mr. Arant pointed out that P.O. boxes and 911 addresses are two different things, so it does not work with that. So anyway, what I've told them to do is if they run across an issue with the towns, the municipalities, and certainly with us, you know, communicate with the towns to let them know, because bottom line is it's a safety issue with the 911 addresses to do this. So from this point on, you know, we will no longer be attaching letters with the 911 addresses. The other thing that I've also instructed codes to do, because of the safety issue, and you hear it all the time, is when fire rescue or police are going to something, a lot of addresses are not posted on the residence. That is, our ordinance says they are to be posted, so I've instructed codes, do not issue permits, because that's where it originates from, until that E911 address is posted on the residence from this point on.
Okay, so this is something that the administration.
That's
your
correct. I was
administration
just
can
bringing
handle.
y'all up to date to tell you where we're at with it, and if y'all got any questions or concerns about it, that's kind of the direction I've led them in.
Thank you very much. Move down to item 12D, shape files. Mr. Eubanks, I'll turn
Okay.
that over to you.
This is definitely something I'm probably gonna need Mr. Arant to help me with. If y'all are aware, we have our GIS program online, and it's very handy to go to see the parcels and everything. A lot of it is limited on what the public are able to do with it. Mr. Arant prints out, a lot of time, he calls them shape files. And a lot of people call different agencies and all needing stuff printed out. And sometimes we have to charge for them, and sometimes, you know, it's tied in with the county some way, so there's no charge. But it ties up a lot of time, and it's something that other counties are actually doing, allowing the public to do online themselves. So I'm asking y'all's permission to allow Mr. Arant to open up the layers, or ever how you say this, to allow the public to come in and be able to do a lot of this work themselves. So Mr. Arant and our staff does not have to do that. It'll make it a lot easier for the public, plus it'll help our staff out also.
Okay. Any questions on this?
What would have been the reason why some of these were restricted from the public initially? You know,
Now, Mr. Arant can probably explain it better than I can. I do know that we've got a lot of layers in the GIS.
And this is no additional expense. to
Right,
the
it's no
county.
expense. It's just allowing Mr. Arant to open it.
yeah, I guess my question is just for clarification, if there was a general purpose initially to not allow the general public to have access to certain layers of the system, I was just wanting some more clarity on it.
And that shapefile can contain whatever information we allow it to have. So let's say our realtors who download a shapefile and use it on their promotions of Chesterfield County, here is the property lines, here's the house, here's the value. It's all public record, every bit of it's public record. Years ago, when we put GIS in, we put it into the county, and I came before council and asked that it be online. We maintain 356 layers in our office. There's 356 different layers that we maintain. We only allow 10 of those layers to be visible to the public. Those were voted on by council and approved as layers, which are your parcels, which are your addresses, your names, your council districts, your voting districts, senator, stuff like that. Any layer can be added. But like I said, these are public layers, and what happens is we have a company that's looking for economic development. All economic development layers, they're just freely given, here you go, what can I help you with? It helps Libby and them out, it helps us out. We only have 10 editors in the county, those people can design layers, so 95% of all the layers are designed between me and Clay. We are the two people that design all the layers. Those layers then can be shared. I can share a layer, let's say Mr. Ford said, in my office of construction, I'm looking at buying property to build houses, or I'm looking at property, and I would like a shape file of all property lines. I then do a digital shape file, which is pretty large. I email it to him instantly, and he can then download that on Google Earth or a Google Map or anything, and all his lines draw just like our property lines do, deeds and records. It takes me an hour to an hour and a half to do a massive shape file, and I get requests at least 20 times a week from forestry, from realtors, from economic development sources, state sources, national sources, and so it's very time consuming for us with emergency services to have to constantly do that. And one of the things I approached Mr. Eubanks about was, we are one of the only counties that do not offer a download shapefile on our website. And so we can download anything we want on that, I just need permission to do it. But like I said, it is public record, and the downloadable ones I would like to add would be the addressing layer, the roads layer, and the parcel layer. Because your parcel layer gives you all your data, it gives you ownership, it gives you value, it gives you your line locks, it gives you your road frontage, it gives you anything you would need as a investor, anybody looking at anything within our county. We do a lot of stuff for the solar farms, projections that are looking for industry, those things that require phone calls, that require a lot of time on the phone. We can solve a lot of that by putting this online so that someone can easily access it.
Thank you, Chad. So you making that as a recommendation from the?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We need a motion to accept this recommendation from staff. Mr. Smallwood, Mr. Ford, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Okay, we'll move down to item E, bid award, brush cutter, Ms. Stanley.
Okay, an invitation for bid was sent out to purchase a bush cutter, and we only received one bid from Quality Equipment. And therefore, staff would request that council approve the acceptance of the bid from Quality Equipment. And actually, the bid was in the amount of $193,995.78.
Is there a motion to accept this bid award?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Miller, Ms. Burns, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Item F, bid award for roll-off truck, Ms. Stanley.
Okay, we sent out another invitation for bid to purchase a roll-off truck with a hoist. And we actually received two different bids in, one from Florence Truck Center, which contained two different types of hoist, and then also Joe Johnson Equipment. Staff would like to request that council approve the acceptance from Florence Truck Center with the GAFAB hoist, and it was for $268,437.
Is there a motion to accept this recommendation from staff? Mr. Conklin? Second? Mr. Miller? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item 13, we don't have any unfinished business, don't have any new business. Move down to item 15, grievance committee appointments. There are 4, they're all on the same board, but we need to take these separately. Ms. Burns has placed Mr. Ellaby's name for an appointment. Is there a motion to accept this?
So moved.
Ms. Burns, Mr. Curtis, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Mr. Smallwood, or Councilman Smallwood, has proposed Robert Gordon. Is that in the form of a motion? Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Miller, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Ms. Anderson has proposed Ms. Michelle Stanley. That's in the form of a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Burns. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Motion carries. I have proposed Mike Hyduke, and that is in the form of a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Curtis. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, motion carries. Move down to item 15B, board appointments. This is from the First Steps Partnership Board. With the departure of the previous county library director, the Chesterfield County Public Library, excuse me, System Board Director has recommended interim county library director, Ms. Catherine Crest, for appointment to the First Steps Partnership Board. She previously served on this board from November of '22 to August of '23. Is there a motion to accept this recommendation?
So moved.
Ms. Anderson? Mr. Smallwood? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, motion carries. We move down to the administrator's report. Mr. Eubanks?
I got a couple updates. The radio repeaters, to tell you where we're at there. Our building crew, they've actually gone in and built the buildings at the High Point and Plainview sites and put the power in, heating and air. They jumped on it, did that. I talked with the radio people yesterday and asked them, could you give me an update on where we stand? He said, hopefully, as early as next week, the repeaters will be up and working. So I said, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. So that's good news there. The other thing is the Welcome to Chesterfield County sign. Jeff with Road Department met with the state last week, and they marked out a spot. There's a couple of trees and some stuff that the state's got to take down, and as soon as that happens, we're gonna build a pad to start the Welcome to Chesterfield County sign. So that's fixing to hopefully move along.
Okay, is that everything?
That's all I've got.
Councilman comments. Anybody have any comments? I would like to, thank.
Oh, no, go ahead. I didn't realize I thought you were moving on to something else.
Oh, no,
You finish.
I would like to thank, Ms. Burns for representing our county with the Sacramento Association of Counties. She presided over the fall advocacy meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
We thank you for representing our county. And also, Ms. Anderson has pretty big roles with the association as far as some finances and other things, and we appreciate both of you and what you do for us there.
Thank you.
Also, I'd like to ask the rules and personnel, I know we already got one thing, but we need to get them to look into the situation that Mr. Kaiser and the sheriff's running into with some of this opioid problems. So we'll need to try to schedule that if we can. Anybody else?
I think Ms. Burns.
Yes, I just wanted to say, during that, South Carolina Association of Counties meeting, I want to thank Mr. Conklin because I was presiding and he was so thoughtful that he presented me with an apple. I taught school, so, you know, you take him out. Thank him for bringing me in.
Apple for the teacher.
Anyone else have anything?
I was just gonna say, Ms. Burns did a great job, because she's thrown a lot of things at once to read that, you know, she didn't have ahead of time, and I thought she did a great job representing our county. She really did.
Mr. Ford?
And our association. I have a couple more things too.
Yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
All right. Yeah, I just wanted to also, I didn't have this, and I should have probably had it on the agenda. It's not a motion. I'm just asking that we support the National Association of Counties Operation Greenlight, which was the initiative that they started last year. We already have, it's to shine, literally shine green lights on our county buildings for the week of November 6th through 12th this year. And it's just to let veterans know that they're seen, appreciated, and heard in our county and supported, that they know that they have resources here. So I'd like for us to do that. I don't think that we have to have a motion for that.
I think Mr. Eubanks can handle that.
We can do that.
And we learned about a lot of things at that meeting that we went to that are coming down the pipe. We learned about local government fund growth forecast, homestead exemption fund, the potential county credit that we're gonna get that we might have to do something about at some point, and projected population changes. Lancaster County grew 15 to 30%, while we lost 5 to 10%. And then some of our neighbors lost even more than that. So, you know, those are all gonna be things that affect our counties, and as we move forward, we need to make sure that we're staying on top of those Friday reports from South Carolina Association of Counties. Once they're back in session, everything's moving, just to know that, you know, what's coming down. So I just encourage everybody to do that once we start getting those.
Thank you very much for that. Mr. Ford?
Yeah, just one brief thing. A couple days ago, when we received our financial report email, I started going through some of the expenditures on the financials, and I noticed that we have quite a bit of an expenditure with advertising in the Link newspaper, and I know I've discussed with Ms. Stanley and Mr. Eubanks a little bit about what those were. I was just going to make it aware that if it's all right, I'd like to try to get Mr. Eubanks and Ms. Stanley to kind of look at it and see if some of the advertising that we've been doing over time is actually necessary versus if we could use other avenues that weren't so costly.
Anyone else have any comments?
One comment about, Mary mentioned the green light. You know, we did do that last year in Chesapeake County, and it actually was promoted, or I saw it in one of the magazines that came out where they mentioned Chesapeake County, so I would love to see us participate in that again.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? If not, move down to item 18. There is a need to go into executive session. Mr. Ruffner, would you please explain?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That would be pursuant to South Carolina Code Section 30-4-70, subsection A5. That would be for the discussion of matters relating to the proposed location, expansion, or provision of services encouraging the location or expansion of industries or other businesses in the area served by the county, and that will be regarding Project Apollo.
Is there a motion to go into executive session? Okay, we have Mr. Ford, Mr. Conklin. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, motion carries. We'll go into executive session, but we'll take a 10-minute break first. We're now to executive session. While we're in executive session, no motions were made and no votes were taken. We will now address the ordinance and resolutions that we move to the end of our session. First one being Project Apollo Inducement Resolution. Is there a motion to accept this resolution?
So moved.
Have a motion?
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. How much? Raise your hand, whatever, it was kind of quiet there.
Sorry.
Okay. Motion carries. We move down to item, Project Apollo Fee in lieu of ordinance, first reading title only. Is there a motion to accept that?
So moved.
Have a motion, second by Mr. Conklin. Is there any discussion?
I disagree with the fee in lieu.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Second master MCP ordinance, Project Apollo, first reading by title only. Is there a motion for that? Mr. Conklin, Ms. Burns, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Is that all of them now? We'll now entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Conklin, Mr. Ford, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.